Well, on that note, we'll make a start.
Oh.
And congratulations on your wedding anniversary, Councillor Carpenter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, councillors. We'll get underway. We have apologies tonight from Councillor Hiskett, who is unwell, but other than that, we are here and we are well and we are grateful. Just a reminder to everybody that the council meeting is being recorded. It will be live streamed and will be available to the public online and remain online. So we bear that in mind in all our words and actions this evening. Commencing with our acknowledgement of country, the Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respect to the traditional owners of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the Palawapakna people. We acknowledge the Punalapana tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. And our statement of values that guides what we do here tonight and every other day, guided by the diverse beliefs, experiences and backgrounds of the people we represent, we strive to make inspired and respectful decisions today that will build a better tomorrow. Moving on then, item 1.1 is the confirmation of the minutes. Please note that an alternative motion has been provided to you tonight, which corrects a clerical error in the 11 December 2023 council minutes. Could I ask that the alternative motion be read aloud by the mover, please? Thank you. Councillor Beswick, seconded by Councillor Vine. Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, I'd just like to read the amended motion. The minutes of the ordinary meeting of the council held on the 11th of December 2023 be confirmed, subject to all references to contract number 19/2019 to 2020 being replaced with contract number 9/2019 to 2020 in minute number 385/2023.
Thank you. Sorry, I should have asked you to do that first and then got a seconder. Is the seconder happy with that motion? Thank you. Any discussion? I presume not. There being none, put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Item 2.1 is councillor workshops. Just the one workshop since we met last time because we have been on a bit of a break. Would a councillor care to move the resolution for this item? Thank you, Councillor Diprose. Second, Councillor Lehman. Any discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 3.1 is Mayor's communications. I have nothing to communicate to you, apart from being happy to see you. 3.2 is the Mayor's diary. Any updates to the diary as listed in the agenda? No, there being none, will a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Diprose. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 3.3, declaration of interests. Does any councillor have an interest to declare in any matter on this agenda, listed on the agenda? No, none. Moving on. 4.1, councillor reports. Councillors are invited to report on any committees of council in which they serve. Any councillor to report on any activity, please? No, it's been a quiet time.
Too early in the year.
Too early in the year. That's exactly right. We will move on. 5.1 is leave of absence. There are no applications for consideration at this meeting. 6.1 is deputations. No requests for deputations to address the meeting or to make statements or deliver reports have been made. 7.1 is petitions. No petitions have been presented. 8.1 is councillors' questions without notice. Councillors are invited to advise of any questions to be asked and which council department to which they're being directed. Around the table, Councillor Lehman.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Carpenter.
No, thanks, Brent.
Councillor Wiley.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Smith.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Diprose.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Viney.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Keswick.
No, thanks, Mayor.
And none for myself. 8.2 is councillors' questions on notice. No questions on notice have been received. 9.1 refers to public question time. So at a time between agenda items at or close to 6:40, the council allows 30 minutes for public question time. You've been provided with some guidelines, I believe, there in relation to questions. A maximum of 2 questions may be asked, and if we're unable to answer your question at today's meeting, we'll take that on notice. The questions are recorded in the minutes, and a reminder that the meeting is live streamed. 9.2 is public questions on notice. There's a report there from the Executive Services Officer about the question on notice that was received from Mr. Haney on the 11th of December. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item, please? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Seconded, Councillor Diprose. Any questions? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Department business number 10, Office of the CEO and Mayor. 10.1 being minutes and notes of committees and of the council and other organisations. Just one set of minutes there for your consideration. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution, please? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Any questions or discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.2 is a report on the annual general meeting for the year ending the 30th of June 2023, and the meeting was held in December last year. A report there in relation to the motions that were moved and a recommendation there. Would a councillor care to move that recommendation?
So moved, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Seconded, Councillor Beswick. Any discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Item 10.3 is the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group. The report that talks to us about extending membership to the West Coast and King Island councils. You have a report there that is provided by the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution, please? Thank you. Councillor Viney, seconded. Councillor Carpenter. Thank you. Councillor Viney, did you wish to speak to this?
Yes, I'd just like to say it's good to see all the members of the Cradle Coast organisation now having the opportunity to be part of that organisation, the Waste Management Group. Even though they are smaller councils, the West Coast and the kind people of the King Island municipality.
Indeed. Yeah, great. Any other comments?
No, Mayor, I just endorse what Councillor Viney said. It's come quicker than what a lot of people would have thought. Finally, all our regions, all our local councils are on board now, so it's a good thing. Change does happen.
It does, indeed. Anything else? Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, I'd just like to concur with the other councillors that as they've mentioned about that they've come on board. This is a good example of what I'd call shared services in our area, and the more that we can have of these sort of things can only make for more efficiencies for everybody. So I just think it's great to see us sharing probably a lot of the information with our smaller neighbours and so forth to make their job a little bit easier. It's not much just reinventing the wheel when you're trying to do it in some of the smaller municipalities. So I think it's just great. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? No, Councillor Viney, anything further to add to close? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.4 again is the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group report for the rollout of regional food organics, green organics service and communication strategy. Interesting that they have called it food organics, green organics. Yeah, different to ourselves. A resolution for you and an alternative motion as discussed there. So you should have a hard copy of the alternative motion. Would a councillor care to move that suggested resolution for the item and read out that motion? Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Do you want to read out the alternative motion, please?
Can do. The alternate motion, Cradle Coast 10.4, Cradle Coast Waste Management Group rollout of regional food organics, green organics, FOGO service and communication strategy that the council, 1, note the planned regional delivery of the food organics, green organic FOGO service across northwest Tasmania from mid-24, and the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group. I'll give the acronym. Associated Communication Strategy, and 2, nominate councillor. Do you want me to nominate the councillor all in one?
Yes, if you're
I
prepared to
would
nominate.
like to nominate councillor John Beswick to represent the council on the CCMWG FOGO Communications Reference Group.
Thank you. Before I ask for a seconder, I'll ask councillor Beswick if he accepts the nomination.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that nomination, Mayor.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, councillor Diprose. Councillor Carpenter, anything to add?
Yeah, just quickly, Mayor, just so people probably along other councils along other electorates might read this and thinking, you know, we're well above. This is going to happen without communication and so forth. What this will give the opportunity for people who's been through FOGO, and that's why Councillor Beswick will be a good part of this strategic setting of this communication strategy to go forward, so it'll make it easier for the other councils to adopt FOGO and hopefully get all their rate base basically all online, and probably hopefully circumnavigate some of the issues that Central Coast had way back then a couple of 3 years ago. So if we can prevent that from happening, it's all, you know, all worthwhile, and it's a bit of pressure on Councillor Beswick to make sure he gets through the other end of this.
Thank you. Other speakers, please. Thank you, councillor Diprose.
I just wanted to say that after all that Central Coast went through with FOGO, how fantastic it is now to see us at a point where there's actually going to be a communications strategy, which certainly would have made our life a lot easier. We had one at the start, but everyone's got to have a start somewhere, and I'm still really proud that Central Coast was the start of that on the Northwest Coast. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
I'd like to thank Councillor Carpenter for his nomination, and also for the confidence that he shares in my role. I just hope I don't lose any more hair between now and then, Councillor Carpenter. But I'm only too pleased to be able to put my hand to thank you for the nomination. When I first got into council 5 years ago, this was one of the hot topics at the time, and I was green, and we've gone into green waste. But it was something that we, as new councillors, there was 4 of us at the time, had to go out and sell to the community. It was a battle at times, but in the end, for myself, the story was a good story. Since it's been in, I must admit there's been an odd few people that haven't been happy with it, but overall, most people are as happy as anything with it. Some people, I was even asked a few weeks ago if they could have a bigger FOGO bin. So it's not that they don't want to do it. So hopefully the learnings that we've had over our time, like it's been 4 years now since it was implemented, that we can use some of those learnings and strategies to help the other municipalities. And I look forward to the other areas coming on board with the Dalberton Waste when they get the new, I think it's called the DOT plant, for the want of a better word, up and running. So, and it'll be really good in digressing that our FOGO won't have to go to Launceston anymore, and it'll be able to be resourced by composting here on the Northwest Coast. So it's great, and again, it's another shared resource for the whole Northwest Coast community with FOGO coming on board, and it'll be interesting to see how it all goes. Thank you.
Indeed. Any other speakers? No. Councillor Carpenter, anything to add?
Oh, not really, Mayor. I think Councillor Beswick is ideal for the job, and do endorse that, and just let people know the DOT plant should be hopefully up and running by mid-year. So it'll all be upwards and onwards from there onwards.
Fabulous.
It'd be great to see it work.
Thank you. I'll put the motion, the suggested resolution. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. 10.5 is the common SEER. You have an alternative schedule provided to you in hard copy. Once you've had an opportunity to look at the schedule, could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution, please?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Carpenter. Thank you, councillor Viney. Any discussion on the revised schedule? No, there being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.6 contracts and agreement has been provided to you. There's no updated version as was circulated. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item, please? Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Seconded. Councillor Beswick. Any discussion? No. There being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.7 is correspondence addressed to the Mayor and councillors. Been provided with a list or schedule of that correspondence. Could I have somebody move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Smith. Any discussion? No, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Brings us to the end of the items for the office of CEO and Mayor. Are there any councillor questions for the office? No, there isn't, because we discussed that before. Fabulous. Moving on. 10.8, safeguarding children and young people. This is the interim policy and complaints handling procedure. We have discussed it in a workshop. You've been provided with the interim documents, and there's a resolution there for you. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item? Thank you, Councillor Lehman. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Councillor Lehman, did you wish to talk to the office?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that we need to have a procedure in place for this kind of thing. I think it's a really good thing for people to know where to go if they need to. If they need to report something that needs to be handled, so it takes the guesswork out of a sometimes grey area. And yeah, I fully support this.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Stop Beswick.
I said I don't necessarily, not that I don't want to speak about it. As Councillor Lehman said, it's a shame that we've got to be bringing a policy like this in for our community because of historic cases. I see this being somewhat onerous on our community organisations, the whole system, not necessarily this policy, but I suppose that we could encourage our community organisations to reach out where they may need help to the council that have got some policies in place that that we may be able to support those through the transition after the Royal Commission and so forth. So, but yeah, happy to support it. It's just a shame we need to.
Thank you. Just on that, through you, CEO, if I might, to Director Conley, there's quite an evolving online resource, isn't there, for as far as the framework and whether organisations need to implement it, what they need to implement and so forth. Is that correct?
That's right, Mayor, and the state government appointed the child safety regulator in late December, so councils would expect that there'll be further resources available for other councils and for community organisations in the near future.
Thank you. Just want to get some clarity for anyone that might have been listening online or in attendance. Any other speakers? Thank you, Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. I guess I'd just like to point out the fact that it is an interim policy and complaints handling procedure, and to thank the Derwent Council, who I believe this is modelled on, so that we do have something in place. And it is a very sad state of affairs that we do have to have this sort of thing within our community. But at the end of the day, as long as it does what it's there to do, which is to help people that have been vulnerable in these situations or to prevent it from happening in the future, then all is well and good. But I just like to hope that there's not too much duplication in what has to come across our region, municipality, state, and that it does actually do what it's there to do without too much duplication.
Thank you. Any other comments? No. Councillor Lehman, did you wish to close? Anything further to add? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. And we thank staff for their work. 10.9 is development application determinations. You've been provided with a copy of the schedule for those determinations. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution in the agenda? Thank you, Councillor Diprose. I knew that you were going to do that for me. Seconded, Councillor Beswick. Any discussion? No. There being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.10 is council acting as a planning authority, where we remind ourselves that we're moving into working as a planning authority. There's a suggested resolution there. Would a councillor care to move that suggested resolution, please? Thank you, councillor Viney, seconded councillor Wiley. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, which takes us to 10.11, community meeting and entertainment, function centre and signage, discretionary use at 385 South Road, West Ulverston. We've been provided with a full report there and a suggested resolution. When you are ready, could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution, please?
So moved.
Thank you, councillor Carpenter. Seconded, councillor Nesbitt. Councillor Carpenter, did you wish to speak to this?
Oh, excuse me, Mayor. Just, yeah, quickly, I think the report basically says it all in detail, and we can get to situations like this and with semi-rural, whatever I like to call it, with part and parcel there on agricultural land and rural land, and it all depends what that zoning says. So it's permitted in the zoning, and there's certain areas there where it's got to satisfy little bits and pieces, and I believe it's done that quite adequately with all the reports. I think the staff have done a good job, and we have gone over time with an extension on this one, which is good to make sure they have sort of crossed all the T's and dotted the I's. Totally agree with the conditions that are set out there below, so this can move ahead. And I think the conditions are workable, and I think it's an establishment that we probably sometimes lack in our community. As of today, in wedding places to go, people want to go to vineyards and all this sort of stuff, and we're not blessed with them in Central Coast, as we know. So this gives that opportunity for people to celebrate the greatest day of their lives in the area they want, in that type of semi-rural, self-catering type, accommodation where they can go and do that at an affordable price. So I think it's a thing that's probably needed in our community. So totally endorse the resolution, and I thank the planners for their work on this, because it could get construed with other things that are happening around us sometimes. I think they've done really well on this one.
Right, fabulous. Thank you. Other speakers, please. Councillor Lehman.
There was some concern about from one of the representations about there being no cap on events, but I think that was addressed sufficiently with the condition of the permit. So I think it's great to see this kind of operation happening in our region. It's really exciting to see this. So yeah, approve this.
Good, thank you. Councillor Wiley.
Yes, I just wanted to point out one of the planners' comments, and again thank them for the work they've done. But just to point out that that they've commented on that there's no agricultural land being converted as a result of the development, which I think is really important to point out, considering we have had other things happen in rural zones. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that nothing's being converted as a result of it.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Smith.
I'd just like to endorse the recommendation. I love to see development. This is just going to be a great one for us here in the Central Coast. And just well done to the staff, and I'm pleased that this is before us.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Carpenter, did you wish to close?
Yeah, just for a minute, Mayor. Councillor Wiley here making use of existing buildings, and I could pick up because really it's young entrepreneurs, which we've appointed economic development officers and this sort of stuff, and this fits that bill, and it's making use of existing facilities that are there. So we're not impeding on agricultural ground in no way, shape or form, and it's great to see, and I think there is opportunity, and this might allow some of them future opportunities to come through. So thanks, Councillor Wiley, for reminding me of that.
Yeah. Good, excellent. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Takes us to 10.12, which is infrastructure services determinations. You've been provided with a schedule of the determinations that have been made in the last month. Could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution for that item, please?
I move, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Beswick. Councillor Viney, any discussion?
It's pretty straightforward, Mayor.
Great, fabulous. No, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.13, which is statutory determinations from corporate services. You've been provided with a copy of the schedule. Some interesting bits and pieces there. Would a councillor care to move that suggested resolution for that item?
So move, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Beswick. Seconded, councillor Diprose. Any discussion?
Just one thing, if I may, Mayor. I suppose it's come up over the Christmas period because of the beaches and so forth. It's interesting how I just noted in there the number of samples of our waterways. It's just interesting the number of times that our samples are done. So they're obviously done every day on the beach areas. Is that correct with 32, or is it?
The sampling is done on a weekly basis across all of
Righto. Yeah, but there's 32 times, so it's obviously 32 locations. Or yeah. So they are monitored closely and shut down as needed. There was a fortunate situation where just before Christmas, the West Ulverstone beach was shut down, and it was good that it was able to be reopened before staff went on holidays and that before Christmas, because there's lots of people on the beach over there at the moment. So it's just an observation, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Carpenter.
Yes, sorry, Mayor, I apologise to the director not asking this question. It's about Midway Point with the cautions there. Just interested to see whether they are not self-contained campers or campers just not moving on. It's good to see it being monitored.
Through CEO to the director.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. We do monitor that campground closely with at least one visit each day. Most of the campers that we move on would be those that are not self-contained. And quite often campers that have come in late at night and we're moving them on very early in the morning.
Thanks. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the work of corporate services the last month? No, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.4 is quarterly financial statements and through, sorry, what did I say?
10.4.
10.14, thank you. Through you, CEO, if I can, could I ask the director just to give us a brief overview of the changes to the financial statements and why the changes and the staff that work have been doing there?
Yes, certainly, Mayor. Council's been provided with the quarterly financial report, and traditionally this organisation has provided council with a quarterly update on council's operating performance against budget, our financial position, our cash flows and our capital expenditure against budget. Council will receive a monthly finance report from this month onwards. So we've been doing quite a lot of work internally to develop a financial management reporting framework that will enable us internally as managers to more closely monitor our performance against budget, including the capital, the delivery of the capital program. So the intent is the report that Council has received this month, we will continually and incrementally make further improvements, providing more analysis and commentary to Council on our performance at that point in time, and importantly highlighting any expected variances to budget. So for this month, there are no material variances to budget identified for the operating budget. We are tracking slightly behind schedule in terms of our expenditure, year-to-date expenditure against year-to-date budget for our capital program. So that's something for us to continually look at. I just wanted to highlight that the council will get that financial update each month moving forward, and more timely reporting on main variances. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Just wanted to provide you with that update. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for 10.14? Thank you, councillor Carpenter. Seconded, councillor Viney. Councillor Carpenter, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, will do, Mayor. I'd like to thank the director and the staff for coming up with this format. And actually, I think it's when you go to the light system for a start, a bit of colour there sort of brings your mind or brings your eye state to it, and then you want to read it. And it's quite easy to read. So I thank you for that, Sam. Quite easy to read. And if you go through it and you look at your materials and contracts and it says just different colour at risk, straight away you can start to look at what we're speaking about earlier on tonight. Then it starts all starts to correlate and allows council to think, okay, we're not just going down this way for the sake of doing something. It shows you there that, you know, there is things there to look at. And it's sort of, if we get this monthly now and you're right down into the bottom thousands of costs and stuff like that, and that's where it does become accumulative if you don't address some of them things. So thanks, Director, for this, and look forward to continuing the reading. And I think every time we read it, we'll learn something new about it. We'll learn how to use it to our advantage and to make sure we have the knowledge, you know, to keep asking the questions. So, yeah, well done.
Agreed. Thank you. Any other speakers? No, I just wanted to point out that for me, under employee costs, there was the comment, and again, I find them very visual and easy to interpret. Of course, there's the notation there that staff turnover is sitting at 11.7% for the 12 months moving average compared to 21% in the same period last year. I trust that that is a reflection of the work that we are all doing. And I was really pleased to see that in the numbers, not just in the fields. Yeah. Anything further to add? No.
If I can,
Yes, you
there's
can.
one there. I think if I can't find it, it's not coloured. We're a little bit behind on rates.
Yes.
They're a couple 100,000. So the fortunate people probably read it and listen to it in the news that the cost of living is extremely high, and probably don't sort of, you know, you bounce it off and out of your mind thinking it's just the world and we get on with it. This is probably showing us that we're not known for that. We're usually pretty well spot on in getting our rates in year on year. So I think there's probably something in there that we've got to be also mindful of, that it is creeping up on us, that the cost of living is reflecting back on our rates demand and costs going forward. So it's just another thing to look at on these financial reports. It probably reflects where our community's at. We need to be aware of that now.
Indeed, it's a great single indicator. It always has been. Good. No further discussion? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. And we had no questions from councillors for corporate services. Thank you to the director. We've come to the end of the public section of the meeting, and it's not quite 6:40 for public question time, which means now we do public question time. So as we indicated at the beginning, we have a section now for public for you to ask any questions that you have. Generally, you know, 2 questions is what's permitted. If we can answer your question tonight, we will. If we can't, we will take it on notice from you. And a reminder that it is being recorded and live streamed. So what we ask you to do is to stand if you're able and state your name and where you're from, and ask the question. We had a question that was provided to the CEO in advance, but I noticed that the author of the question is with us, so you might want to ask that directly. So do we have any questions for the council? Romy, did you want to read your question that you submitted, or are you happy for the CEO to read out the question and his response?
I'm happy for
You're
that
happy for
question.
that, and then if you've got any supplementary
Yes.
questions, then we would welcome those. So that would be a question that was submitted from Romy Griner. Yes.
Madam Mayor, councillors and people in the gallery. The question from Romy was, and I quote, the local provision schedule LPS for the Central Coast municipality features scenic protection code C80 overlay for the Leaving Canyon and adjacent areas. During the community consultation process and the lead up to the LPS, a commitment was made by the then General Manager of Council, Sandra Ayton, that the council would systematically establish the scenic values across the entire municipality and pursue amendments to the LPS that would see scenic areas and corridors recognised in the LPS. During 2023, Circular Head Council has embarked on this very process to recognise and protect its scenic assets. Our municipality's similar features are unique and irreplaceable scenic values, including along the entire river leaving corridor, from Black Bluff to Ulverstone and along the municipality's entire coastline. Would you please outline the council's intends, how the council intends to honour the commitment given previously and ensure the inclusion of the relevant scenic protections in the LPS? Thanks, Romy. And the response is, during the process of transitioning from the Central Coast Interim Planning Scheme to the Tasmanian Planning Scheme, Central Coast, the Tasmanian Planning Commission found that there was insufficient evidence presented to support the rezoning of land, then referred to as areas A, B, C and D, and being associated with the Gunns Plains, Black Bluff and Nietta, respectively. At the time, Council proposed undertaking further investigations into the scenic values of these areas. This work has not yet progressed. Due to other priorities, it needs to be considered in the context of Council's recently adopted term plan, Our Place, Our Future and our revised budget. To this end, staff have commenced discussions with the consultancy firm that undertook similar work for Central Circular, I should say, and have reached out to the council with a view of learning from their experiences. Pursuing the rezoning is likely to cost council between $80,000 to $100,000. The Director of Community Growth and Development will workshop the matter with the councillors and senior staff next month in February. Romy.
Thank you. Just to clarify, the CEO, the areas were B, C and D, not A, B, C and D. Just for a point of clarification, because they were all such important areas, weren't they, with such important tags?
Indeed.
It is. Did you have a subsequent question at all? Just providing you the opportunity
But I
to.
would like to congratulate the council for, progressing this, because it is really important. We all want to see development happen in the municipality, but we want it to be sensitive to our aesthetic assets, and having those assets recognized in the LPS is paramount to that happening. So thank you for progressing.
If you have a question. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for allowing me to speak. It's more of a concern. It's to do with the trees.
So just
my name's
briefly.
Linda French, and
Thank you.
I am the manager of the OC Ling Caravan Park,
Thanks, Linda.
and have officially started on 1st of November last year. Now, our park is surrounded by trees, which I love trees. That's not what it's about, but it's more of a safety issue as far as I'm concerned, because there's no fire breaks in, like, down both ends of the park. It's like a forest, and there's currently no fire breaks, which is a bit of a concern. I've actually had to close one of my sites down because where the dunes sit, the trees have sort of come right out onto the site, and it's currently unsafe to put anyone there, because we had wind come through there the other night, and these trees are cracking and creaking, and so from a safety situation, I just can't allow anyone there. So I'm just wondering, in the near future, is there going to be some sort of maintenance done through the park? That's really all I wanted to know.
Concerned about. David,
Yep.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
CEO.
Take on that. You want to talk to that?
No, that's so there is a normal regime of inspections, of course, isn't there? But in this instance, we're happy to, the CEO will take that on notice and come back to you. And if we need more information, have we captured some best contact details for you, Emma?
Yes, I've got my details down here, and I've got an email address.
Fabulous.
So
That's great. That'll allow Barry to get in contact and provide you with a response. Is that okay?
Lovely. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for your question. Hello to those of you that have just joined us. We're in public question time phase of the meeting. So members of the public are welcome to ask a maximum of 2 questions. We remind everyone that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and immediately after this section finishes, that is when we've already worked our way through the agenda, so we'll be closing the meeting to the public at the end of that. So just to bring you up to speed with where we are. Thank you so much Linda, other questions? Yes.
Yes, my name's Gary Carr, and I live in the park at Turner's Beach, and we formed a committee, and we would just like to see, let you know that we'd like to see a bit of money spent in the park, to see it keeping up to date a bit. And that's about all I've got to say, but I just wanted to come and sit down at the council meetings and represent our committee just to sort of help keep things rolling a bit.
Thank you, Gary. I think I had an invitation to meet with you and
Yes.
yes, and so that would have been referred on to the CEO or director. So have we progressed that invitation at all? No, I'm thinking.
No, Madam Mayor, no, we'll certainly take that on notice, and I do know we're reviewing our caravan parks and those facilities across the line there, because whilst the leases do not cover the cost that we have for management for starters, there's a fair bit of work to be done there.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So your request, Gary, then you wanted you, as I said, I know that there was an invitation to meet with the committee, and I think my response at the time was that, you know, we have a lease with Forth Valley Lions.
Yes,
So I didn't want to compromise any of that by getting in the middle of it, because it's not really our turf. But perhaps it would be appropriate for, anyway, how would you like to proceed with that? Barry, is it appropriate for one of our staff to meet with the committee, or?
Yes. Yeah, but the director, Sam, or myself.
All right. I'll, Gary, if that's okay, I will retrieve your email and invitation, pass it to the CEO, and he can further it as he sees fit.
Okay.
Is that okay?
No, that'd be good.
Thank you for coming and making us aware, and thank you for caring for that precious piece of our board.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? Michael, did you have anything that you wanted to raise with us tonight? I know that you mentioned to Councillor Lehman about the recharge opportunities for people using the scooters, and she has followed up with that, but just wanted to give you the opportunity to share with us if you wished.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll leave that till the next meeting, and that way I can think more clearly about what questions and how I'm to ask them more clearly for everyone to understand.
Understood. No, that is fine. Thank you so much. And for those new people that have joined us, did you have any questions for the council tonight? No? Okay. All right. That's fine. Well, we will move on to item 11.1. which is meeting closed to the public. And there is a resolution there. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item, please? Thank you, Councillor Deprose. Seconded, Councillor Lehman. Any discussion? No. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, and I can declare that the meeting is now closed to the public at 6:43 p.m. And thank you all for coming along.
Thank you.
Thank you.